Would your type of method have been able to identify Vioxx as a problem for Merck?
Well, I think it's very important to understand what's available today. We have MedWatch data, we have the clinical trials data, which you had alluded to here a few minutes ago. What we're talking about is speed. We're talking about expediting.
Donato was driven by his own personal experience, but because of his hearing difficulties, and he has profound hearing loss. People just didn't expect much of him. They didn't think he was going to go very far.
You know, when you look at the majority of drugs that are on the market, Neil, the majority of the drugs
He's stood on the Algonquin Playhouse stage with myself and addressed 700 people and talked about very openly and warmly his own hearing loss and how it affected him.
What we are trying to do is to really provide the kind of information that can be expedited.
He treats you as though he's known you forever and that you're kind of part of his family, his extended family.
Here we have 11 million lives, we have claims data, we process 1 million.
September 11th was very profound, and I'll never forget it because he was very much on my mind, because anybody that's very close to Donato knows at that point in his life, he was always on that flight from Boston back to LA on a Tuesday morning.
That's really the benefit here. We have 11 million lives.
That was a defining moment for me for several perspectives. One of which is that my office had thought that I was on the plane because we were scheduled to be on the plane. I had not informed them that I had changed. And so there was a feeling of me watching for a moment what my own passing might have looked like. But then there was the reality of friends of mine, people that I had just had dinner with, people that I had just had fun with, the 3-year-old baby who I was playing with, that they had lost their lives. And how fate has different courses for different people. I had changed my flight and saved my life. They had changed their flight and lost their lives. So I took some time off. I went to Europe, went back to Italy and just absorbed what all this had meant. And it was there that the insight had hit me that had I been on that plane, how would people have remembered me? Would they have remembered me as a successful businessman? Perhaps some would have remembered me as, a great friend. Maybe others would have remembered me as a hard worker. But no one, I think, would have really have known what meant most for me was the challenge that we had endured in our life. The loss of hearing, the privacy that type of a condition creates for you, the self-esteem, the loss of connection with people, the feeling of loneliness. People think because I have the hearing aids today that it's a perfect world for me. It's not a perfect world. It's anything but that. And so the insight came to me that why not start this foundation and help other people who may have disabilities in their lives. It may not be a hearing disability, it may not be a speech disability, it could be a financial challenge, it could be that they had just a challenging upbringing. Whatever the case might be, could we, and then I talked to some people, they said, no, there's so many of those things going on, and I said to myself, do I not remember the time when I was going to apply to college and people said, you'll never get accepted? Whenever people have told me that I couldn't do it, I've always done the opposite. And I said, I'm going to do it. Because even in my lifetime, if I live for the next 40 years, we help out 40 people. Those 40 people will probably tell another 100 people. And will have helped out thousands of people.
I felt very honored that I had been chosen as the first recipient. Growing up without a father, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, relying on my mother and my family to become who I am, and also, the financial struggles that also entails.
Michael Damiano, and just an awesome reflection of what an outreach program can do. We have stayed with Michael from the inception of his first year in college through his graduate school.
It's heartening to see a young person actually live up to everybody's expectations, take advantage of every opportunity he has in front of him, use it in a very kind and professional way, and go beyond it.
He is now a board member. He is in a very, very outspoken board member, which is what we like.
We're not so regulated that we can't be responsive to a need as we see it. And that's what's, I think, is very exciting for those of us who are involved with the foundation.
We have each other's number, we communicate on an ongoing basis. I think that it makes it a lot easier to get something done.
We are able to react quickly to different needs. When Hurricane Katrina happened, we were able to quickly sort of pull together our board members, have them take a look at the need and make a decision.
My youngest brother, I'm one of 7, so he's the baby. He's been in Mississippi for probably about 10 years. He was in the service down there and married a girl from Biloxi. And they have 2 children, Caitlin and Madison. Caitlin is a handicapped child who had seizures as an infant, and it's really complete care. She doesn't talk or walk. His house, had been basically destroyed. I mean, didn't get washed away or anything like that, like some people's homes had, but the whole inside was completely destroyed, so they had to leave.
It's hard to believe it was 6-7 years ago. We reached out to her brother, and I met her brother years later, and it was like we had given him the world.
Their house was destroyed, but he was able to rebuild it. Like every time he talks about it or we talk about it, we just sort of kind of get a little emotional, because it's nice to know that people out there really care and are willing to just open their hearts and help you when something, horrible or devastating happens.
It was so remarkable, and again, it's not how much you give, it's the fact that you gave. Or it may be what we have done in Cambodia. We get reports back now of the funds that have been used to educate an entire village on the English language.
The Cambodian children truly realize and recognize the importance of the English language. They understand that that can drastically change their lot in life, meaning they have better opportunities in the future to work in the tourism industry, in the computer industry, helping with management in the textile industry, which are all industries which are blooming in that part of the world. So they definitely realize and take it very seriously.
And so hundreds have been educated, and the analysis from what we have done is that these folks will be better equipped to take on responsibilities and to improve their life. And so they will help hundreds more.
One of the things that I was particularly interested in was when Donato identified that the Algonquin Playhouse needed some equipment that would allow deaf people to be able to enjoy the theater.
We then went out and wrote a very aggressive grant program with the Maine Arts Commission to not only overhaul the entire sound system at the Algonquin Playhouse, but bring in very high-end technology, a Broadway quality soundboard that would not only support an enormous amount of microphones, but this same sound system would also support assisted listening programs.
Apparently this hearing device vehicle has been a tremendous success, and I could tell you why, because I know with my difficulty I'm one who will access the unit, and so it was just a no-brainer for me when they petitioned to say we would like to extend and purchase more, and touched me because whether you lose your hearing or you lose your eyesight, it is a handicap for that individual.
Well, the Iris Network was founded in 1905, and since that time it has evolved to provide vision rehabilitation therapy and skills training to people who are blind or visually impaired throughout the state of Maine. There's a need for rehabilitation services, and paying for those is a barrier because the need is expanding even though public resources are shrinking. I met Donato, and of course he was attracted to our mission as he learned about what we do.
At a special meeting to the board, I presented their vision, which is to reach out to young individuals, to adults who have had challenges with their sight. And one step further, they were looking for a special grant that would help and assist parents of children who have lost their sight. And so clearly, it touched us tremendously.
Some people see things as they are and say, why? I dream things that never were and say, why not?
I think out of all of my board positions and my appointments, this one has touched me tremendously. I met Carrie Kennedy, who is the daughter of Senator Robert F. Kennedy. Carrie has been really the true beacon of carrying the torch for human rights and social justice issues. One of the significant things they do each year, which is very touching, is that they honor a significant human rights leader.
We help them on the ground. We represent them at the U.S. Senate, at the United Nations.
And the job of the RFK Center in honoring these folks is to ensure that they stay focused on an issue to see it through its resolution. That touched me deeply, and so it has been a great honor to be part of this in more than just an assignment to the Leadership Council, but now to really help give back. And so I am very, very thrilled that we can do something for the RFK Center. There are a handful of individuals that have had a huge influence in my life. Certainly my parents, my brothers and my sisters have had a huge influence, and Mary Jane England.
I've known Mary Jane for many, many years, really since the 70s, and have worked with her in a number of roles, so I know about her tremendous leadership and national reputation.
I have watched this remarkable woman turn around a college that was primarily woman-based to a co-ed center.
She and I and many alums believed deeply that a women's school was quite important, but we accepted the reality after many studies were done that young women today want to have a co-education.
To move the board and to move the Order of the Sisters of St. Joseph toward what was a very real big opportunity, and that was to provide, if you will, an expansion of education not only to women but now to men. That was not easy.
Mary Jane England has just finished 10 years of valiant service as president of Regis College, a time of tremendous change and growth for Regis. Donato was especially generous in stepping forward and saying, Mary Jane and I have known each other for 20 years, and I believe that the way I will honor her is to make a contribution to this scholarship program.
That will have a legacy for her and will continue far beyond her presidency, will continue the great work that she's done at Regis College.
Well, Donato has a unique ability to touch the lives of people he works with and comes in contact with.
Different flavors. Very, very popular in Italy.
So that I would think his Rolodex is incredible, because when you get to know him, he personally pulls you in. And I think it's that kind of intensity that allows him then to be able to design this foundation, focus on their assets as opposed to the deficits, taking their potential to change, their potential to grow. So it's really an incredible opportunity to put your money to work to have really tremendous success.
It's about the tipping point, that you've touched one person and that person touches others. And the end product is you've created now a generation of people that really have an enormous focus on helping others and giving back. And that's really what it is. If everybody can give back just a little, wow, we would be living in a wonderful world.